Hello, PAC Talk viewers. Fall is here. The mornings are crisp, the sun is just creeping up, and I'm out here checking out these soybean fields, checking progress toward harvest. And what that's got me thinking is some of these fields won't go back to wheat, so what are we going to do with them? Cover crops are a good choice for getting us through till that spring planting again. And today I'm going to sit down in the studio with Ryan Hall, one of our Progressive Ag Co-op agronomists, and talk about just that. But before I do, we're going to introduce a new segment here on PAC Talk called Employee Spotlight. With 13 Progressive Ag Co-op locations, it's hard for our patrons to know all the employees who work hard every day to make their co-op successful. Every episode will spotlight one employee who goes above and beyond to make that customer experience the best it can possibly be. All this and more coming up on today's PAC Talk. I'm here today with Brian Hamilton, our location manager for the Southwest region of Progressive Ag Co-op. That would be Bluff City, Newport, Metcalf, and Alvin. Brian, it's nice to talk with you today. Thanks for taking a second just to visit with us. How long have you been at the co-op, and what did you do before the co-op that kind of brought you to the co-op?
I've been here right at 5.5 years. Before coming to work here, I owned my own construction company with my dad for 20 some years. Just felt like it was a time to make a change after my dad retired, and this looked like the perfect fit for me. So,
all right. So, owning your own business, being in construction, you're working with the people every day. Are there elements of that job that you've been able to apply here to Progressive Ag and helping the co-op become better partners with our patrons?
Absolutely. I mean, when you own your own company, you've got to be your own advocate to throw yourself out there that you're doing the best job for your customer. And I feel like I brought that with me here to, you've got to make sure the customer's happy or try to do everything you can. And, word of mouth is the best advertisement. So if it's a good word of mouth, then that's what we want, and that's what I strive to get.
So what are some things you enjoy about working here at PAC?
I just love the freedom of being outside. It's, you're outside most all the time. You're either loading grain or fertilizer. We've got a lot of equipment that needs maintenance. It's not the same thing every day. You get out there, you get to teach some people some new stuff. You learn new stuff from different people, and just working with the public and trying to make the farmers or producers as successful as they possibly can.
That's one thing about working at Progressive Ag. Every day is a new day and a new adventure, and we try to do everything we can to put the customer first. So, Brian, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your day to visit with me.
Thank you.
And if you're in the Southwest region of Progressive Ag Co-op, make sure you stop in and see Brian and tell him hello. Welcome to PAC Talk, your source for all the information you need to make your farming operation successful in today's agricultural landscape. I'm your host, Chris Kreifels, VP of Technology here at Progressive Ag Co-op. I'm joined today by Ryan Hall, one of our agronomists. Ryan, it's good to have you here.
Good to be on.
Great. We have kind of an important topic we'd like to introduce today that's not necessarily used a whole lot here in South Central Kansas. But before we dive into cover crops, which is our topic of the day, Ryan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you ended up at the co-op, and a little bit about your history.
Well, I grew up north and west of our Danville location, about 8 miles. Kind of just was a farm kid, and after I got done with high school, went to Oklahoma State and got my degree in plant and soil science. After that, I got lucky enough to get a position with the co-op as a rig driver at the time, and kind of over 4 years here, kind of worked my way up into an agronomist position.
Right, and a CCA as well.
Yes, and the CCA license.
Great. So Ryan has a lot of knowledge. So if you ever need any agronomy advice, Ryan, Anna, they're always happy to help you with that. But again, today's topic is cover crops, something that's not necessarily used a whole lot here in South Central Kansas. So we kind of like to introduce that topic and start that discussion today. So Ryan, when we think about a cover crop, and specifically a fall planted cover crop, in general, what are we talking about?
We're talking about something that's going to give you several different benefits. Could be soil health, could be erosion potential, maybe we're getting some better water infiltration or nutrient help. I mean, you've got several things we can do with it depending on what you want to do.
So we're really looking at any crop we're going to put in the ground, non-harvested crop, most generally.
Non-harvested.
Anything we can put in the ground that's going to hold that soil, maintain that soil until we plant our spring planted crops.
Yes,
crops.
Exactly.
Okay. And you mentioned some of those benefits being erosion control, soil compaction, nutrient maintenance, essentially. When we talk about nutrient maintenance or holding those nutrients in the ground, explain a little bit more what we're talking about.
The main one that we're worried about is our nitrogen losses. Sometimes, you may have some left over out there behind your corn or milo crop that maybe, you'd like to try to hold on to that and utilize it for the next year. Well, depending on what your blend has, I mean, a lot of your radishes, turnips, things like that will absorb that and hold it into that plant and in that root structure because of how big that root will be. But as soon as you terminate that in the spring, that will degrade fairly quickly and it will release that back in so that crop can use it.
So we're just holding on to that, keeping it from going groundwater or down the road somewhere in a rain.
Exactly.
Just trying to prevent a lot of that nutrient leaching that we see, especially with nitrogen.
Yep.
And again, we're holding that soil in place, getting some erosion control with that. Depending on the blend, maybe natural tiller and breaking through that hard pan and really allowing us to get to those other nutrients that are maybe below due to some soil compactions. Okay, so what are these crops we're talking about? We're going in probably after our corn, milo, soybeans get off the field. What are some of these crops that we're going to maybe look at putting in the ground as a cover to get us through to the spring?
You're going to be looking at doing like wheat, triticale, barley. Those kind of be your three main, let's say, grass crop side of it that are going to give you some good root structure to hold things from erosion and kind of break it up to get better water penetration. If you're going to kind of help with compaction, you've got radishes, turnips, some brassicas, which are going to be kind of a little like canola in that same family. Those are going to kind of be your main ones that are going to be in your mixes.
So, and you mentioned a mix. So we're probably not going to plant a single cover crop to a field in most situations.
No, you're going to have generally 3 to 6 species within that mix, depending on how, I want to say, wild you want to get with it.
Right. And again, those selections, whether we're going those turnips and radishes or the ratios of that to the triticale or the barley, the wheat, the grasses, it all depends on what your needs are, whether we're looking at reaping the soil benefits of the erosion control, the soil compaction, the nitrogen leaching, or whether we're looking at maybe some cattle benefits as far as grazing that or even haying that later on.
Yes.
So that's all going to depend on your particular situation, on your soil. So
it's going to be like your farm. I mean, everybody has a different intention with each crop. So we try to fit these blends to fit your needs.
Right. And our progressive agronomy team has some good knowledge on cover crops. And we work with some great partners that can help us if we don't maybe have an answer or maybe can find a better fit for your situation.
Exactly.
So we have some great partners we work with. So for sure, check us out. Visit with one of our agronomy staff as far as that goes. So maybe we've grazed this for 40, 45, maybe 60 days after we planted. We've grazed this off. What are we looking at in the spring? So before we plant those crops, that corn, that milo, those beans, what are we looking at doing with our cover?
You're gonna go in and terminate it just like you would a field that sat over winter that's got weeds on it. Let's say volunteer weed or all kinds of different weeds. You're gonna burn it down just like you would that same time frame. Could be anywhere from late March clear to mid to late April, depending on your situation. You just want to try to get it burnt. Say terminate it before it really gets too mature and starts trying to set seed.
Before we get out to seed.
Yes.
Because we don't want to end up with that, having to deal with another problem as we get into our cash crop. And cover crops are important to soil conservation programs too. I believe FSA has a program that kind of ties cover crops in.
Yes,
Right.
they've got some conservation program. One of them is called Equip. Might be familiar to some of you. They do require some cover crops in between on things, and they do offer assistance on putting that in, but they do have certain ratios that they require within that blend. And our partners that we work with have had knowledge in building those blends, so they've got pretty good knowledge on how to get you taken care of.
So like any government program, there's going to be requirements and regulations we've got to abide
exactly.
by. We can help get the answers so that we can maybe help you with some of that as well. So we planted our covers in the fall. We talk about planting. We're just looking kind of the same setup as a wheat drill, right? We don't have to adjust maybe some settings as far as seed size, seed population, that kind of thing. But as far as row widths, that kind of thing, we're just still looking at the same setup we're looking at for wheat. Right?
Yeah, same setup for wheat. Depending on whatever row spacing you use for drilling wheat, you're just going to use the same drill. You may just have to adjust it a little bit depending on what that ratio is, and you should be good to go.
Okay, and we can get that in mini bulks, bags.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do quite a few acres and you need it in true bulk, I mean, there's options to go get it with a semi, or we can just bring it in some big tote bags and figure out a way to get it in there.
So Progressive Ag really wants to be a trusted partner to our patrons. So we want to make sure that we can get you not only the seed, but the information in selecting those cover crops. And again, we're always more than happy to share all the information we have and visit with you about how we can help you as far as cover crops in today's agricultural mindset, because we've got to make sure that we can make the best decisions we can for our farming operations, because as we've discussed before on the show, the agricultural economy has a lot of room for improvement.
Yes.
So we want to make sure that we can get all the bang for our buck in both our crops and keeping that fertility level up, and cover crops are an important part of that.
Yes.
So Ryan, thank you for joining us today. That pretty well covers our discussion today of cover crops.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so be sure to check out all of our PAC Talk videos on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to that channel. Hit the like button if you like this, you want to see some more. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter using the handle ProAg Co-op. We want to hear from you, what you thought of today's discussion. If you have a suggestion for a topic we should cover in the future, shoot us an email at pactalk@proagcoop.com. Again, follow that YouTube channel, because we're going to put up pretty regular PAC Talk episodes, as well as some other videos that are everything we can do to get more information out to the grower. Because at the end of the day, we want to be that trusted partner, and we know that our business depends on you, the producer. So again, any requests or questions you might have, shoot us an email, pactalk@proagcoop.com. PAC Talk is a production of the Progressive Ag Media team. It's the vision of Progressive Ag Co-op to build successful partnerships with our patrons, employees, and all we do business with to ensure that both Progressive Ag Co-op and our patrons' businesses are sustainable in this ever-changing agricultural landscape. Once again, Ryan, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks.
And we'll see you next time.